We are going to start with the 20 marks part today. That's description of data and the measures of central tendency and dispersion. ट्वेंटी मार्क्स का वेटेज है. अगर 20 मार्क्स का वेटेज है तो कंसंट्रेशन होना चाहिए पूरी तरह. Look at me now. Stay back, look at me. I repeat my statement. In the statistics section, more than the problems, theory will be preferred. Theory ज़्यादा होगी problem से, और theory का advantage यही होता है कि theory एक information है, जानकारी है. If you know it, nothing remains in it, and if you don't know it, nothing will remain in it. Correct? पता ही नहीं तो फिर कैसे चलेगा ना, और पता है तो उसमें दूसरा कुछ नहीं होगा. तो इसके लिए अब तुम मेरे तरफ देखो. That this is divided basically into three parts: the description of data, measures of central tendencies, and the measures of what? Dispersion. So the first part is the statistical description of data. Again and again I am telling you that this theory is very, very important. एक एक सेंटेंस की लिस्ट करो. Instead of writing this as a whole, एक अलग अलग statement लिखो. And what is the first one? If you look at the screen, statistics can be considered to be in the singular sense as well as in the plural sense. Statistics can be considered to be in the singular sense as well as in the plural sense. Now, in the singular sense, it refers to what? Suppose I want to know the income of people in Pune city. समझने की कोशिश करो कि suppose you pass foundation, and suppose you pass intermediate, and suppose you pass final as well, and suppose therefore you become the chief finance officer, the CFO in the multinational company. And suppose a Japanese company wants to start a car manufacturing plant here near Pune. अभी ये कार मैन्युफैक्चरिंग का प्लांट कब वायबल होगा, कब प्रॉफिटेबल होगा? ये प्रॉफिटेबल होगा ओनली इफ द पीपल्स इनकम इज गुड लेवल ना. अगर लोगों का इनकम है कार खरीदने जैसा तो वो प्रॉफिटेबल होगा, नहीं तो नहीं होगा. So the Japanese delegation wants to study the income of people in Pune city. So, in order to study the income of people in Pune city, what they had to do, you cannot stand here this Bajira road and ask the question, sir or madam, what is your income? इधर मैं रोके या नहीं पूछ सकता कि ये तुम्हारा इनकम कितना है, ऐसा कोई बताएगा भी नहीं. To find out the income, there are various ways and means. Different methods can be adopted. You see what is his standard of living. You see where does he stay. You see what kind of car is he using. By considering the standard of living the person is enjoying, you can come to know what about the income of that person. तो यह डेटा कलेक्ट करने का अपना एक तरीका होता है, ये डेटा कलेक्ट करने का अपना एक मेथड होता है. So, collection of data itself is a science. Collection of data itself is a method. So you need to collect the data. अभी जो डेटा कलेक्ट किया है वो ऐसा बहुत सारा ऐसे के फॉर्म में अगर तुमने लिखा तो कुछ समझेगा नहीं. So the collected data must be presented properly. And once you present the data, you have to make an analysis. क्या analysis कर सकते हो कि बिजनेस क्लास में इतना इनकम है, मेन के अंदर इतना इनकम है, फीमेल्स के अंदर इतना इनकम है, इस रिलीजन में इतना इनकम है, कोथरूड में इतना इनकम है, और फिर वो कैंप में इतना इनकम. दिस काइंड ऑफ एनालिसिस यू कैन डू. तो statistics is the science. In the singular sense, it means what? It is the method of collection of data, presentation of data, and then analysis of the data. समझा? The term statistics in the singular sense refers to what? Collection of data, presentation of data, and making an analysis of data. Whereas in plural sense, this word statistics refers to the data you are collecting, the information you are gathering. तो singular sense में और plural sense में, ये दोनों भी sense में the word statistics can be used. So the first MCQ here is going to be write down. The first MCQ is going to be that the statistics can be used in singular as well as plural sense. Statistics can be used in singular as well as in plural sense. Statistics can be used in the singular as well as in the plural sense. In singular sense, it refers to. In singular sense, ये another MCQ हो गया. In the singular sense, it refers to the science of collection of data. It refers to the collection of data, presentation of data, and the analysis of the data. Collection of data, presentation of the data, and analysis of the data. Whereas statistics in plural sense, ये और एक MCQ हो गया. ये सब स्टेटमेंट्स की एक जो बैंक आपके पास होगी, जो कलेक्शन आपके पास होगा, वो ही आपके लिए भगवत गीता भी होगा, बाइबल भी होगा, कुरान भी होगा, और हर वो जो कुछ भी वॉल्यूम आपको जिस पे ट्रस्ट है वो सब आपके लिए फाउंडेशन में यही होने वाला है. समझा? तो in the plural sense, write down. Statistics in the plural sense refers to the data collected. Statistics in the plural sense refers to what? Data collected. अभी जरा मेरे तरफ देखो. I ask you, how many marks did you get in the exam? And you will say, I got 30 in maths, 29 in accounts, 31 in law in the first attempt. I ask, how many students are there in the class 0, 1, 2, 3, 4? Whenever I express the data in terms of the numbers, numerical data, that would be referred to as the quantitative data. That would be referred to as the cardinal data. ये अलग अलग words आपको मालूम होना चाहिए कि quantitative data, cardinal data would be in terms of numbers. But if I ask you what is your religion, if I ask you what is your nationality, if I ask you what is your caste, if I ask you which languages you speak, if I ask you what color of dresses you are using, then I am referring to the non-quantitative data. And that would be referred to as the qualitative data. Or it will be referred to as what? Ordinal data. It would be referred to as what? Attribute. That will be another word, what? Attribute. So the next point is going to be write down. The next point is going to be that the data can be classified to be quantitative or cardinal data. Those are in terms of numbers. Quantitative data, those are in terms of what number. Data is never used in the singular sense, it's always used in the plural sense. So never say data is. You always have to say data are. Quantitative data, those are in terms of numbers, and then write down. The data may be qualitative. The data may be qualitative. That is ordinal data. Ordinal data. That is attribute. That is attribute. And these are the data not in terms of numbers. These are the data not in terms of numbers. They can have some examples. Now, for example, if I ask you marks obtained in the exam, quantitative or qualitative? Quantitative. How many people are there in the city? What is the population of the city? Quantitative or qualitative? What is the income? Quantitative or qualitative? What is the result of the examination? Quantitative or qualitative? No, sorry, this is qualitative. Because result can be pass or fail. Result is not your marks. Result is only that you pass. Result is only that can be you fail. So result of the examination is qualitative. All the marks are quantitative. Samjha? So likho. For example, income, population, income, population, marks obtained in the examination, marks obtained in the examination are the quantitative data, whereas what? Nationality, religion, caste, language is spoken, are the qualitative data. Result of the examination, result of the examination, pass, fail, are the qualitative data. Result of the examination will be qualitative. ये समझा है आपको? कितना एमसीक्यू हो गए? नंबर्स देंगे तो प्रिपरेशन करना आसान होगा. तो कितने हो गए? हाँ, नंबरिंग आपका अलग अलग हो सकता है, but generally see that every point is covered. All right. Now I refer to the quantitative data. My question is, tell me how many students can be present in the class? How many students can be present in the class? 0 is possible, 1 is possible, 2 is possible, 3 is possible, 100 is possible, 1000 is possible. But tell me 0 और 1 के बीच में 0.25 possible है क्या? 0.26 possible है क्या? 0.278 ऐसा fractional number possible है क्या? So the number of students present in the class can be only the specific values. 0 is possible, 1 is possible, specific values are possible. There cannot be any value in the interval. Only specific values are there. When only specific values can be taken by the data, can be presented in the data, those data would be referred to as the discrete data. Those data would be referred to as what? So what do you mean by discrete data? Only the specific values are possible. Whereas my question is, tell me what can be the height of the person. It can be 4 feet. It can be what, 5 feet. It can be 4.5 feet. It can be 4.56 feet. It can be 4.567 feet. You can express the height in terms of any detail. And therefore, whenever you are writing the height of the person, you will say that the height of the fully grown human being will be in the interval, say 4 feet to 8 feet. Joel Garner, West Indian bowler, had a height of 7 feet and 7 inches. So 8 feet तक हम जाएंगे ना? बट एक बार मैंने ये इंटरवल को स्पेसिफाई किया तो इसके बीच में की कोई भी वैल्यू हो वो पॉसिबल है. एनी रियल नंबर इन द गिवन इंटरवल विल बी पॉसिबल. रियल नंबर समझता है क्या? रियल नंबर मतलब क्या? एनी फ्रैक्शन, एनी रैशनल नंबर, एनी इरैशनल, कोई भी नंबर जो एग्जिस्ट हो सकता है, ऐसा कौन सा भी नंबर, वो रियल नंबर होता है. तो एनी रियल नंबर इन द गिवन इंटरवल, हाइट हो सकता है, वेट हो सकता है, इट कैन बी द क्वांटिटी ऑफ medicine in the bottle, it can be anything in that given interval. However, what about the income? Your income can be 1 rupee, your income can be 1 rupee 1 paisa, but ये 1 पैसा और 1 रुपी इसके बीच में कुछ पॉसिबल है क्या? ये 1 रुपी और 1 रुपी एंड 2 रुपीज इसके बीच में पॉसिबल है 1 रुपी 50 पैसे, बट 1 रुपी 50 पैसे एंड 1 रुपी 51 पैसे इसके बीच में कुछ पॉसिबल है क्या? अतुल ते जरा स्क्रीन इकडे कर ना, म्हणजे ते मध्ये येणार नाही, इकडनं ते हे कॅमेरा सुरू नाही झालं का? सुरूच नाही झालं. कुठला क्लास गेलाय? कुठला हे गेले? ती घेऊन नाही चालणार. 9 वाईज तिकडे क्लास सुरू आहे. काय होतं तो मध्येच येतो तो कॅमेरा, बीच में आता है. काल बरोबर होता, आज बदलला का त्याच्यासाठी? आवाज का नाही वाटत? आवाज बदलत आहे, ठीक आहे. अजून करा कोण? मी कसा दिसतोय? Alright then, look at me. So we said, in case of the quantitative data, it could be the discrete data, it could be the continuous data. And what do you mean by discrete data? It can be only the specific values in the interval. So I was talking about income. What can you say about income? Your income can be 1 paisa. Your income can be 2 paise. But can your income be 1.5 paise? ऐसा कुछ होता नहीं है ना, currency ही नहीं है वैसी. And therefore I would consider income to be discrete. Why income can be considered to be discrete? Because it can be full paise. In terms of paisa, it will be full amount. It cannot be the fractional of 1 paisa. Fraction of 1 paisa is not possible. So let's go next point. Quantitative data can be further classified into quantitative data can be further classified into discrete data and continuous data. Discrete data and continuous data. Where discrete data means only the specific values are possible in the given interval. Only the specific values are possible in the given interval. And in continuous data, there can be any real value in the given interval. There can be any real value in the given interval. There can be any real value in the interval. अभी वो क्या करेंगे, वो आपको एक तो ये डेफिनेशन पूछेंगे, नहीं तो कुछ तो भी एग्जांपल पूछेंगे. Is it discrete? Is it continuous? Okay, so write down the population, income, number of vehicles on the road, are what, discrete or continuous? Are the discrete data. Write down, are the discrete data. Whereas height, weight, income is indiscrete. So I was testing your concentration. Alright, so write down height, weight, diameter, length can be what? Continuous data. Are the continuous data. Alright, now suppose I want to study the income of people in Pune city. Who am I? I am the investigator. I collect the data and I use the data. So data will be collected by me and used also by me. Then for me those data would be the primary data. So I am going to have the further classification of the data, and the further classification data will be what? Data may be primary, data may be secondary. What do you mean by primary data? Data collected by the investigator and used by the same person or group of persons, agencies, companies. And what do you mean by secondary data? Data would be collected by some person and will be used by some other person. So I collect the data, I use, for me it is going to be primary data. I collect the data, you use it, for you it is going to be the secondary data. समझा? इतना simple है. So write on further. Next point. If the data are collected by the investigator for himself, then then for him it would be the primary data. For him it would be the primary data. For him it is going to be the primary data. But if data are collected by an investigator, if data are collected by the investigator but used by another user, then for that user it would be the secondary data. समझाओ? तो प्राइमरी मतलब क्या? I collect, I use, and secondary means what? Somebody collects, I use, or I collect, somebody uses. समझा ना? You are married, you only use primary. You are married, I use. समझा क्या? समझा क्या? तो अभी हमने पहले ही एमसीक्यू में ऐसे लिखा है कि स्टैटिस्टिक्स इन द सिंगुलर सेंस इज मेथड ऑफ कलेक्टिंग द डेटा. तो कलेक्शन डेटा करेंगे, फिर उसको प्रेजेंट करेंगे, पर कलेक्शन कैसा करेंगे? तो प्राइमरी डेटा के मेथड्स ऑफ कलेक्शन क्या है, सेकेंडरी डेटा के मेथड्स ऑफ कलेक्शन क्या है, दैट इज गोइंग टू बी माय नेक्स्ट पॉइंट. तो यह थोड़ा सा स्क्रीन पर आप देख सकते हो, लेकिन स्क्रीन पे देखने के बाद सिर्फ देख के नहीं होगा, वो बाद में अपने को लिखना भी है. समझाए? इसमें का हर एक पॉइंट एक इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है. भाई मेरे तरफ देखो कि व्हाट आर द मेथड्स ऑफ कलेक्टिंग द डेटा. आई टेक एन इंटरव्यू. आई वुड आस्क यू हाउ मेनी मार्क्स डिड यू गेट इन 10th स्टैंडर्ड. I would ask you how much is your income. I would ask you what is your religion. I would ask you which languages you speak. So I take an interview. Question is, how do I take an interview? And one method says that I take the personal interview or direct interview. क्या method है? Personal or direct interview. I will go to the person. I will interview the person. I will ask the questions to the person and I will collect the data. ये समझा? I will ask the question to the person and I will collect the data. तो अभी क्या होता है कि समझो नेचुरल कैलेमिटीज है, फ्लड आया, अभी फ्लड में कोई पर्सन अफेक्टेड है, तो दूसरे को वो पूछ के कैसे चलेगा ना कि इसके प्रॉब्लम्स क्या है? वो उसी को पूछना चाहिए तेरा प्रॉब्लम क्या है. समझा क्या तुमको? There is a COVID patient in the hospital. There is no point in asking the question, what are the problems, what are the sufferings, and you cannot ask this question to the nurse or ward boy. That question has to be asked to the patient himself. So whenever there are natural calamities like flood, earthquake, diseases, pandemic, अभी ये नया word आया है, pandemic, epidemics, correct? What method would you use? Personal direct interview. But अभी समझो एक्सीडेंट हो गया है, ट्रेन का एक्सीडेंट हो गया, रेलवे का एक्सीडेंट हो गया. वो एक्सीडेंट में एक लड़की ऐसे गिरी है नीचे, और फिर तुम उसको जाके पूछेंगे कि यह एक्सीडेंट कैसे हुआ, तो वो बोलेगी अरे पागल, पहले मेरे को बाहर निकलना, मेरे को बाहर निकल. So there is no point in asking to the person who is involved in that accident. Then what you will do, you will see the farmer who is working around. There is another person who is observing that accident, how that phenomenon happened. Go to the person and ask the question, how did this accident take place? That person will describe how that incident happened. अगर वो एक्सीडेंट में कोई मर गया है, उसको कैसे पूछेंगे ना एक्सीडेंट कैसे हो गया? So you had to make an interview of the person who is associated. That is called the indirect interview. That is known as what? Personal indirect interview. So generally ये income tax की रेट होती है. They don't interrogate. Interrogate means asking the questions. They don't ask the question to the person concerned. First of all, they will catch hold of the driver of the person. Because driver is the person who knows everything. ये किसको मिलता है, कहाँ मिलता है, क्या करता है, क्या देता है, क्या लेता है. Correct. So that will be treated to be indirect interview. And then other method is you have a telephonic interview. Phone karo. Abhi ye har each of these three methods will have something special. Personal direct interview mein accuracy will be maximum. Because I am asking the question to the person concerned directly, so I am going to get the most reliable information. So accuracy is maximum. However, the cost will be more. You have to travel all the way to the person and you have to ask the question. Time required will be more. Because you have to travel all the way to the person and ask the question. So time required, cost will be more in the direct interview. Indirect interview mein kya hoga? Accuracy will be little affected. Because person who is associated with the phenomenon is giving you the answer. So it will not be, may not be correct information. Telephonic mein kya hoga? Accuracy will be very less. Because you don't know you are interviewing whom. मुकेश अंबानी को फोन करेंगे कैसे चल रहा है, मुकेश अंबानी बोलेगा क्या करूं यार बटाटे का भाव बढ़ गया है, पोटैटो का, तो तुमको कैसे समझेगा ना वो झूठ बोल रहा है. हाँ, लेकिन अगर आप वो जाते हो उसके घर, वो 36 स्टोरीड बिल्डिंग में, और पूरी पूछते हैं और फिर मुकेश अंबानी बोलता है बटाटे का भाव बढ़ गया, तो यू इजीली कम टू नो दैट इज गिविंग द फॉल्स इंफॉर्मेशन. तो टेलीफोनिक इंटरव्यू में accuracy is affected, but the speed is more and the coverage is more. Wider area can be covered. You can call on telephone to any number of people in given time. समझा? तो what are the methods we have seen so far? It will be the personal direct interview, it will be the indirect interview, it can be the telephonic interview. What is the other method? Other method is that you make a set of questions. Set of questions is a questionnaire. और वो क्वेश्चनर मेल करो, वो क्वेश्चनर पोस्ट से भेजो, वो क्वेश्चनर कुरियर से भेजो, एंड यू रिक्वेस्ट द पर्सन टू फिल इन द डेटा एंड सबमिट द इंफॉर्मेशन. अभी इसमें क्या होगा? वाइडेस्ट एरिया कैन बी कवर्ड. In 1 minute you can send the information, that you can send the questionnaire, you can send the mail to virtually crores of people across the world. But इसमें क्या होगा? मेल आते रहते हैं और कोई देखता ही नहीं है. फीमेल आती है तो देखते, मेल आते तो कोई, बराबर ना? ऐसे कितने मेल्स आती रहती है, बट यू डोंट इवन ओपन द मेल बॉक्स. बरका तो नॉन रिस्पॉन्स एरर विल बी द मैक्सिमम इन द मेल क्वेश्चनर मेथड, ऑल्दो इट कैन कवर द वाइडेस्ट एरिया एंड इट इज द फास्टेस्ट मेथड. तो ये मेल क्वेश्चनर मेथड का क्या स्पेसिफिकेशन होगा? इट कैन कवर द वाइडेस्ट एरिया, इट इज द फास्टेस्ट मेथड, but the non-response error, not getting the response, you are sending the questionnaire but nobody will fill in it. So that risk will be more. Third method is what? Suppose you have to ask the question to the students, what is your blood pressure, what is your sugar level, etc. Instead of asking the question, a group of doctors, a group of medical experts will visit the class. They will use the instruments like blood pressure measuring machine or might be whatever, and they will actually collect the observations. So that is going to be the observation method, and here the accuracy is maximum. Personal interview में accuracy is more, but उससे भी ज़्यादा accuracy मिलेगी observation method, that is the third method, because you are using the instruments and you are taking the observations, so and you are doing it for your own. That means there is no chance of any mistake in that, there is no chance of any error in that. So what is the most accurate method? Observation method. But that is going to be considered taking the largest time. समझा ना? It will be most time consuming, it will be most monotonous data. कितने students का blood pressure measure करोगे? 100, 200 ठीक है, but if there are 5,000 students, how can you measure? So it is going to be only for the small group of people. And the fourth method is for the specific segment. For example, if I had to ask the question, if I had to take the inputs from the, say, car owners of the Maruti company, what will I do? I'll make a small set of questions. वो भी सिर्फ yes, no, true, false इस form में. And then that will be given to some persons who will stand near the signal. And when there is a red signal, when the vehicles are there, it can be that small chit can be given to the user of that Maruti car, and you can request him or her to fill in the questionnaire and submit. तो वो 1 मिनट जो मिलता है रेड सिग्नल जब होता है तो पीपल कैन रिस्पॉन्ड. नहीं तो पेट्रोल पंप पे जाओ, पेट्रोल पंप पे लोगों को कुछ काम नहीं होता है, बराबर ना. वो टोल पोस्ट पे जाओ, वहां कुछ काम नहीं होता है. तो बट देन यू कैन गेट एन इंफॉर्मेशन ओनली अबाउट द स्पेसिफिक सेगमेंट ऑफ पीपल, and that will be just a questionnaire method. Earlier we saw the mailed questionnaire method. Now this is just a questionnaire method. questionnaire तैयार करो, means set of questions तैयार करो, specific group of people को लिए वो तैयार करो, उसको दो और वो data collect करो. So tell me what are the methods of collecting the primary data? अभी answers दो मेरे सवालों का. What are the methods of collecting the primary data? Personal direct interview, indirect interview, telephonic interview, mail questionnaire method, observation method, and just a questionnaire method. Which is the most accurate method? यही MCQs है, यही पूछा जाता है. What is the most accurate method? Observation method. What has most risk of maximum risk of non-response? Mail questionnaire method. What is the costliest, most expensive method? ऑब्जर्वेशन मेथड. वहां सबसे ज्यादा पैसा लगता है, समझा ना तुमको. एंड देन माय क्वेश्चन टू यू इज टेल मी इन केस ऑफ एक्सीडेंट्स व्हिच मेथड वुड यू यूज? इन केस ऑफ नेचुरल कैलामिटीज व्हिच मेथड वुड यू यूज? यही तो क्वेश्चंस होते हैं जो पूछे जाते हैं. फॉर स्पेसिफिक सेगमेंट ऑफ पीपल व्हाट मेथड वुड यू यूज? क्वेश्चनर मेथड. समझा? Which method is involved having the measuring tape and measuring instruments and some other instrument? Observation method. समझाए तुमको? तो write down. Next point is going to be methods of collecting the primary data. Methods of collecting the primary data. Methods of collecting the primary data. अभी हम सिर्फ क्या करेंगे, जो एग्जाम में क्वेश्चंस आ सकते हैं उतने ही सेंटेंसेस लिखेंगे, सब कुछ मत नहीं लिखेंगे. So write down first method, direct interview. Personal direct interview. Personal or direct interview. And write down is used in case of natural calamities. Is used in case of natural calamities. यहाँ ये MCQ है. नेचुरल कैलेमिटी में कौन सा यूज करेंगे? फ्लड आया तो कौन सा मेथड यूज करेंगे? In case of natural calamities, right? And then write down in the same point. Well, these are alternatives to each other, na? Personal or direct, or it can be personal direct. अभी क्या क्या बोलेंगे वो पेपर सेटर पर डिपेंडेंट है ना. हमारे लिए वो एक ही हो गया. All right. So write down this is used. उसी पॉइंट में लिखो, पर्सनल डायरेक्ट में लिखो, we use this method by asking the question to the person involved. By asking the questions to the person involved. जो वहां involved है उसे पूछो, बराबर ना. सिर्फ स्मॉल पॉइंट्स लिखते हैं जो सिर्फ एग्जाम के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है. सेकंड मेथड, इनडायरेक्ट इंटरव्यू. Indirect interview. We interview the person associated, not involved. Person associated, not involved. We interview the person associated, not actually involved. Is used in case of the एक्सीडेंट्स. ये एक सिचुएशन, एक्सीडेंट एक ही सिचुएशन है. मैंने तुमको बोला इनकम टैक्स क्वेरी भी तो वैसे ही होती है, सीबीआई की इंक्वायरी वैसे ही होगी, बट जनरली ये एमसीक्यू है. इज यूज इन केस ऑफ द एक्सीडेंट्स. टेलीफोनिक इंटरव्यू. टेलीफोनिक इंटरव्यू. Telephonic interview can cover the larger area, but not the largest, okay? Larger area, lesser cost, but accuracy is less. ये सब तुम कॉमन सेंस से भी फील कर सकते हो. टेलीफोन पे जो मिलेगा वो एक्यूरेसी लेस होगी, बट लेस एक्यूरेट. Accuracy is less. Alright, then the mailed questionnaire method. Mailed questionnaire method. Mailed questionnaire method. And write down, it can cover the widest area, widest, largest area. It can cover the widest area. It takes the minimum time. It takes the minimum time. So least time consuming, right? Minimum time. But error of non-response is maximum. कोई जवाब ही नहीं देता, मेल भेजो, है व्हाट्सएप, बोला ना, ऐसा मेल भेजते हैं ना तुम, है व्हाट्सएप, and then that person does not respond, ignore, बोला ना. I said the error of non-response is maximum. Error of non-response is maximum. Third one is next one is the observation method. Observation method. This is very targeted. This is surgical note. समझा क्या? Specific, to the point. Observation method. The observations are taken using the measuring instruments. Observations are taken using the measuring instruments. Observations are taken using the measuring instruments. Accuracy is maximum. Accuracy is maximum. But the most expensive method, and the most time consuming method. Common sense से भी ये आप answers लिख सकते हो, but common sense is very much uncommon, right? Most time consuming method. And then the last is questionnaire method. Questionnaire method is used for the specific segment of people. Is used for the specific segment of people. Specific segment of people. For example, the revision by students. Specific segment. क्या problems है आपके? तो सब problem ही है. Solution कुछ नहीं है. Alright? Is that clear? Alright. Now, I want your complete concentration. ये हो गया primary data. This is how the primary data, these are the sources of the primary data. Then what could be the sources of the secondary data? Now secondary data means what? Collected by somebody and used by somebody else. So investigator is different and the user is different. So what can be the sources? Of course, you can again by common sense tell what can be the methods of secondary data. It could be the international agencies, like the International Monetary Fund, IMF, World Bank, the WHO, they will publish the data. It could be the national resources, the government agencies. For example, the Ministry for Food and Agriculture will, publish data related to the rainfall, to the crop, etc. It could be the quasi-government. Quasi-government, it could be like the NGOs. जो लगता है गवर्नमेंट जैसा है पर वो गवर्नमेंट नहीं होता, दैट्स कॉल्ड क्वाजी गवर्नमेंट. समझा ना? तो क्वाजी गवर्नमेंट मतलब क्या? या फॉर एग्जांपल देयर कुड बी फ्यू इंस्टीट्यूशंस व्हिच आर वर्किंग voluntarily. They publish the data. And it could be the unpublished data in the library. People generally, when they do the research for suppose the degree of PhD, they collect the data. Those data will be there in the dissertation. Those data will be there in their thesis. And these books are kept in library. They don't publish the data. But if you want data, you can walk in the library, you can get the data. Samjha? So unpublished data means what? These data are available in what? Libraries generally. Google पे भी होगा अभी. Anyway, so what are the four methods of collecting the secondary data? international agencies, government agencies, private or the non-government agencies, and then the unpublished data. समझा? So write down. Sources of secondary data. सिर्फ नाम लिखो बस, that is enough. Sources of secondary data. International agencies, government reports, reports by the private institutions, reports by the private institutions, and unpublished data available in the books. Unpublished data available in the books in the library. Unpublished data available in the books available in the libraries. समझा आपको? अभी इसमें एक पॉइंट होता है कि प्राइमरी डेटा would be collected by me for myself. So I will take the utmost care to see that the data would be correct. I will take the utmost care that there is nothing false reflected in the data, false occurring in the data. But secondary data would be published by the government. Secondary data would be published by the international agencies. और WHO publish करता है. और WHO अभी भी वही बोल रहे हैं कि ये बहुत खतरनाक है, ये ओमाइक्रॉन and all that, and people are dying. बट ग्राउंड रियलिटी वैसे दिखती नहीं है ना, समझा क्या? तो इन केस ऑफ सेकेंडरी डेटा यू ऑलवेज हैव टू स्क्रूटिनाइज द डेटा. अभी ये जो स्क्रूटिनी करेंगे वो दो चीजों के लिए करेंगे. एक तो एक्यूरेसी ऑफ द डेटा. आप बोलेंगे कि ये कोरोना वायरस के कंडीशन में यहाँ इंडिया में सपोज क्या है 10,000 डेथ्स हो गई. अभी ये 10,000 डेज हो गई, अगर ऐसा है तो ये 10,000 एक्यूरेट है क्या? ये 11,000 हो सकता है, ये 1 लाख हो सकता है, ये 2 लाख हो सकता है. अगर 10,000 है तो फिर नदी में वो डेड बॉडीज कैसे फ्लोट हो रही थी? ये एक्यूरेसी हो गया. एंड द सेकंड वन इज द कंसिस्टेंसी. कंसिस्टेंसी मीन्स व्हाट? वेदर इट सेटिस्फाइज सम रिलेशन और नॉट. फॉर एग्जाम्पल यू से हमारा इंपोर्ट इतना है, एक्सपोर्ट इतना है, फॉरेन ट्रेड इतना है. अभी इनपुट इंपोर्ट इतना है, एक्सपोर्ट इतना है और फॉरेन ट्रेड इतना है, तो फिर ये इंपोर्ट और एक्सपोर्ट का टोटल में फॉरेन ट्रेड होना चाहिए कि नहीं? अगर आपने बोला कि $10,000 बिलियन का हमारा इंपोर्ट है और $8,000 का हमारा एक्सपोर्ट है और हमारा टोटल फॉरेन ट्रेड 50,000 है, तो ये कैसे चलेगा? ये इक्वेशन सेटिस्फाई नहीं होता है. So this is the lack of consistency. That means some relation, some equation is not satisfied. GDP compute करते हो तो GDP में कौन से फैक्टर्स आते हैं? एक तो तुम्हारे इन्वेस्टमेंट्स है, बराबर ना, तुम्हारा प्रोडक्शन है, फिर तुम्हारा अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर है, और तुम्हारा फॉरेन ट्रेड का डेफिसिट है, डेफिसिट या सरप्लस जो भी है वो है. ये सब फैक्टर्स को मिला के तुम्हारा जीडीपी डिसाइड होता है. तुम जीडीपी अगर हाइक करते हो, तुम बोलते हो कि हमारा जीडीपी अभी वो 12% हो गया है, और ग्राउंड रियलिटी में ये दिखता है कि यहाँ एक्सपोर्ट ही ज्यादा इंपोर्ट ही ज्यादा हो रहा है, एक्सपोर्ट कुछ होता ही नहीं है, और गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से कुछ इन्वेस्टमेंट भी नहीं हो रही है. तो ग्राउंड रियलिटी स्पीक्स ऑफ समथिंग डिफरेंट. इंडिया हैज बिकम द 5th लार्जेस्ट इकोनॉमी इन द वर्ल्ड. ये डेटा कहाँ? वो कंसिस्टेंट दिखता है क्या? सी द ग्राउंड रियलिटी. यहाँ एक भी रास्ता ऐसा नहीं है कि जो प्रॉपर रास्ता है कि जहाँ इंटरनेशनल ट्रैवल हो सके, जहाँ बड़ी कंपनीज यहाँ आके काम कर सकेगी. एक भी रास्ता दिखता नहीं. तो 5th लार्जेस्ट इकोनॉमी का मतलब क्या? तो ये दिस इज नॉट कंसिस्टेंट विद द कंडीशंस अराउंड. पर ये सब अपने को नहीं लगने वाला एमसीक्यू स्टाइल ऑफ एग्जाम में. अपने को सिर्फ इतना ही लगेगा कि वी चेक फॉर द एक्यूरेसी एंड कंसिस्टेंसी, where accuracy means checking for the correctness of the data, and consistency means whether it is satisfying certain equations or not, whether it is satisfying certain models or not. समझा? तो write down, in case of secondary data, in case of secondary data, in case of the secondary data, we need to scrutinize the data. We need to scrutinize the data. We need to scrutinize the data. That means we had to check for. That means we had to check for accuracy or consistency, accuracy or correctness of the data. We have to check for the accuracy or correctness of the data and the consistency or validity of data. ये consistency को दूसरा word क्या होगा? Valid है कि नहीं? Consistency or validity of data. You can check for accuracy and consistency of the data. That's enough. For exam, it is enough. कोई ज़्यादा discussion की ज़रूरत नहीं है. So this was all about the collection of data. So tell me, we talked about the methods. First of all, we saw about the methods for collecting the primary data. And then we saw the methods for collecting the secondary data. And now the data have been collected. Collected data must be presented. Collected data must be presented properly. Now what are the methods of presenting the data? The first method is the textual presentation. Neat म्हणायचं काय? Textual presentation. समझा? So tell me, what do you mean by textual presentation? You present the data in terms of the paragraphs and paragraphs, essays and paragraphs. Right? Data would be presented in terms of what? Essays, reports. But वहाँ क्या होगा? It would be very monotonous. Number one. क्या होता है कि inter-component comparison possible होना चाहिए. You must be able to compare the males and females. You must be able to compare the working class with the business class. You should be able to compare the different years for that matter, 1991 with 2001. तो ये जो comparison है between the different segments, that is not possible in the textual data. वहाँ कोई समझता नहीं है, पूरा ऐसे पढ़ा तो क्या समझेगा? तो comparison is not possible. Secondly, what happens is that, remember, variation is the only constant thing in the nature. क्या मतलब है? मतलब everything is variable. तो अगर आप प्राइसेस के तरफ देखेंगे तो प्राइस कभी बढ़ेगी, कभी कम होगी. वो प्राइस, पेट्रोल की प्राइस देखो अभी थोड़ी सी कम हो गई है, बीच में बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ी थी. तो कभी बढ़ेगी, कभी ज्यादा, कभी कभी खुशी, कभी गम कहते हैं. लेकिन अगर लॉन्ग टर्म में तुम देखेंगे तो वो राइजिंग पैटर्न है. If you consider the illiteracy in India, वो किसी ईयर में ज्यादा होगी, किसी ईयर में कम होगी, बट ओवरऑल अगर लॉन्ग टर्म 50 इयर्स का डेटा देखेंगे तो illiteracy is reducing. People are taking some kind of education, some level of education. तो ये जो लॉन्ग टर्म पैटर्न होता है उसको कहते हैं ट्रेंड, एंड दैट ट्रेंड कैनॉट बी सीन इन द टेक्सचुअल प्रेजेंटेशन. तो एग्जामिनेशन पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, only few words are important. Textual presentation means what? We present the data in terms of the paragraphs. This is the dull method, this is the most monotonous method. वो ठीक है, लेकिन importantly क्या, यहाँ comparison is not possible and also long term trend cannot be seen. Finish. समझा? तो give the heading methods of presentation of data, modes of presentation, methods of presentation of data. लिखो. And write down the first method, textual presentation. You have to be careful while saying that, okay? Textual presentation. Textual presentation. And just write down small points. We present the data in form of the paragraphs. We present the data in form of the paragraphs. The comparison between the segments is not possible. Comparison between the segments is not possible. Comparison between the segments is not possible. And the long-term trend cannot be seen. Long-term trend cannot be seen. The long-term trend cannot be seen. And therefore we go to the second method. And the second method के लिए थोड़ा सा कुछ ज़्यादा points का consideration करना चाहिए. That is the method of tabulation. Table method. Tabular presentation. Look at P. So what do we do? Number one is that we make a table. Just अभी observe करो. What are the components of the table? What are the components of the table? ये शायद आपको FY BCom में भी लगेगा. What are the components of the table? The first component is the table number. Tell me why is the table number given? Suppose if I say table number 5, why do you say table number 5? क्यों दिया जाता है number? It is given for the ready reference. I can tell you, please refer to the table number 5. Look at the table. ऐसा बोल के कैसे चलेगा? You will ask which table? समझा ना? तो why is the table number given? Table number is given for the ready reference. I can refer to the table number 2.1. तो ये आसान होगा ना reference देना. Second one is the title. Now how should be the title? Title क्यों देते हैं? Title को पढ़ के तुमको समझेगा कि ये table का content क्या है. This table is regarding what? The contents of the table are related to what? तो title ही अगर 5 pages का देंगे तो चलेगा क्या? तो that title should be the brief title. Title should be the brief title. However, it should be the self-explanatory title. For example, I can say that year-wise, okay, year-wise number of employees in the company according to the gender. तो आपको क्या समझेगा? कौन से ईयर में कितने मेल्स थे, कितने फीमेल्स थे? Year-wise and gender-wise data. You can also say year-wise, gender-wise and skill-wise data. Skilled worker, unskilled worker. समझा क्या आपको? And therefore the title should be brief. Title should be small, brief. Yet it should be self-explanatory. It should be self-explanatory. That table should reflect what it is. The third component is the head note. Third component is the head note. And this gives you units of measurement. This will give you units of measurement. For example, if you are writing about the production, you have to say this is in tons. If you are talking about the rainfall, you have to say this is in terms of inches. बट क्या होता है कि आप टेबल में ये पूरा नाम नहीं लिख सकते ना, मेल फीमेल ऐसा नहीं लिख सकते. तो तुम क्या लिखेंगे? एम एफ. तो ये एब्रीविएशंस हो गई या शॉर्ट फॉर्म्स हो गया. तो वो शॉर्ट फॉर्म का मतलब लिखना पड़ेगा कि एम मीन्स मेल, एम मीन्स मेल, या एम मीन्स महाराष्ट्रियंस, या एम मीन्स और कुछ. तो इट कंटेन्स द क्या तो units of measurement पण होतं ना, हॅलो लगेच. काय शेवटी त्यांनी तरी काय हलवलंच ना. Okay. The head note has the units of measurements and as well as what? Abbreviations. Abbreviations means shortcuts, short forms. Clear? अभी ये जो पहला ये जो upper part of the table है, that is referred to as the box head. ये जो upper part of the table है, this is the upper part of the table. This is the upper part of the table and that is referred to as the box head. This is referred to as what? Box head. So what is box head? It is the upper part of the table. Finish. अभी actual presentation of table जब आएगा, so what you will do is something like this. For example, along the rows, I will take the years 2001, 2011, 2021. Now these are taken along the rows. Along the columns, what I can do is I would say there are males, there are females. Alright, now these are the columns. And these columns can be subdivided into skilled workers, unskilled workers, etc. Skilled and unskilled. तो ये सब कॉलम हो गया. Yes or no? ये क्या हो गया? सब कॉलम. Now try to understand. Left part of the table. Left part of the table that describes the rows is the stub. Is the stub. So what is the stub? Left part of the table. Left part of the table that describes the rows. तो rows जो description जहाँ मिलता है उसको क्या कहते हैं? Stub, not tub, it's stub. Alright. And the upper part of the table, the upper part of the table that describes the columns and sub-columns. Columns and sub-columns. That will be referred to as the caption. That would be referred to as what? Caption. So what is stub? Rows. What is caption? Columns and sub-columns. And then you will present. So suppose here there were 1,000 people. What is 1,000? What would be 1,000? These are the number of male skilled workers in 2001. So ये जो जहाँ न्यूमेरिकल डेटा प्रेजेंट किया जाता है, जहाँ ये न्यूमेरिकल डेटा प्रेजेंट किया जाता है, that is known as the body of the table. So the body of the table consists of the numbers. Body of the table consists of what? Figures. Of course, body has figures. All right. So body of the table consists of what? The numbers of the figures, numerical data. And towards the end you have the footnote. And in that footnote, you have the source of the data. My question is, tell me, why should I maintain the source of the data? Why should I mention the source of the data? Because that will tell about the reliability and validity of the data. अगर आप लिखेंगे कि ये डेटा कहाँ से कलेक्ट किया गया है, ये डेटा इंटरनेशनल मॉनिटरी फंड के रिकॉर्ड से किया है, तो पीपल विल ट्रस्ट इट. और अगर आप बोलेंगे कि ये डेटा हैव बीन कलेक्टेड फ्रॉम कायत्री न्यूज़पेपर आज का आनंद वगैरह, तो पीपल विल सस्पेक्ट इट. ऑलराइट. एंड दिस इज सोर्स ऑफ डेटा इज मेंशन्ड फॉर चेकिंग द validity or reliability of the data. For the reliability of the data. For the reliability of the data. समझा? For checking the reliability of the data. Now my question is, look at me. What are the advantages of this table? वन इट इज मोस्ट एक्यूरेट मेथड. ये 1000 है तो 1000 ही लिखा जाए. ये अगर 1001 होता तो वैसे ही लिखा जाता. There is no approximation here. Look at me. There is no approximation. Okay. There is no approximation in the data. The figures will be written as they are in original. So it is the most accurate method. Second is what? You can easily have a comparison between the rows and columns, 2 rows and 2 columns. You can have the comparison between the 2 rows and 2 columns. That is another advantage. But the limitation still remains. The limitation still remains. And is that the long-term trend cannot be seen by merely looking at these values. Long-term trend cannot be seen by looking at these values. Long-term trend cannot be, long-term pattern cannot be seen. Comparison is possible. But over the period of 25 years, what is happening? That long-term trend is not seen. Samjha? And because it is the most accurate method, it is the first step in doing any analysis further. जो भी presentation करेंगे और analysis करेंगे, उसका पहली step क्या होगी? Tabulation. Clear? So write on the examination-oriented points. The method of tabulation is the most accurate method. Method of tabulation is the most accurate method. Is the most accurate method. It is the first step in analysis. It is the first step in the analysis. First step in the analysis. Comparison between the 2 rows or 2 columns is possible. Comparison between 2 rows or 2 columns is possible. See, I could have given you all these notes also, okay? But if you write by your own, in your own words and by your own hands, it will become more natural, more spontaneous. Comparison between the 2 rows or 2 columns is possible. Samjha? And the last point, that is limitation. Long-term trend cannot be seen. Long-term trend cannot be seen. Long-term trend cannot be seen. Abhi, agar aap do factors, so if you look at this table, tell me how many factors did I mention here? One was year, second was gender, and the third was skill, unskilled, skilled. So these 3 factors are reflected. Then this is called the 3-way table. This would be referred to as what? 3-way table. But if I am just writing what year and gender, it will become a 2-way table. Or if I am writing only the year, 2001 में इतने workers थे, 2002 में इतने workers थे, so it will become the 1-way table. 1-way table will reflect 1 factor. 2-way table will reflect 2 factors. And a 3-way table will reflect 3 factors. Samjha? So write on that as a point. Next. Table can be 1-way, 2-way, 3-way. Table can be 1-way, 2-way, 3-way. Table can be 1-way, 2-way, 3-way. 1-way table represents 1 factor. 1-way table represents 1 factor. 1-way table represents 1 factor. 2-way table represents 2 factors. 2-way table represents 2 factors. And a 3-way table represents 3 factors. 3-way table represents 3 factors. 1-way table 1 factor, 2-way table 2 factors, 3-way table 3 factors. Alright. Now if this is true, then for some time look at me. For some time, just look at me. I leave the problem for you to try. Come on. This is the problem based on table. This is in the module. This is in the module. Can you see? Can you see that? Read. Out of 1,000 people. ये इस तरीके का क्वेश्चन एग्जाम में आ सकता है. प्रॉब्लम थ्योरी आ सकती है, नहीं तो प्रॉब्लम आएगा तो इस तरीके का प्रॉब्लम आ सकता है इस चैप्टर पे. Out of 1,000 persons, what is 1,000? Total number. 25% people are the industrial workers. So industrial and agricultural sector of work is one factor. Sector is one factor. Then people watch the World Cup matches, people don't watch the TV. Watching TV, not watching TV is the second factor. तो तुम मेरे को बोलो कि how many factors are present in this problem? 2. Only 2 factors are present. What are those 2 factors? Sector of work and watching TV. These are the only 2 factors. इसके बीच में सब classification है. But basically factors are only 2. So tell me how many way table would you prepare? 2 way table. तो अभी तुम करेंगे क्या इस problem को? Table पूरा करो. I'll leave it to you. Again, it is more of a common sense. अगर तुम थोड़ा सा common sense use करेंगे तो तुम खुद ही इस question को कर सकेंगे. And if you cannot, then anyway I'll help you. सोचो. Tell me, how do I prepare the table? What is one sector? What is one sector? Industrial sector and agricultural sector. इसे मैंने क्या कहा? इसे मैंने stub कहा. Correct ना? And then what? Watching TV, not watching TV. ये मैंने क्या कहा? Caption कहा. And then I had to complete the table. Very easy questions. I now need to complete the table. So my question is, tell me what is 1,000? 1,000 is the total number that I would write here. समझाओ? Now 25% are the industrial workers. 25% of what? 1,000. तो ये कितना हो गया? 250 should be written where? Industrial का total है, तो ये 250 होगा. Obviously, remaining figure can be computed, and this is going to be 750. समझा? Then what do they say? 300 people see the World Cup on TV. तो TV देखने वाले कितने हैं? 300. So where should I write 300? Those who are watching TV. Obviously, tell me how many are not watching TV? 700. So rest of the place figures can be found. It's very easy actually. And here this is a possible question. 30% of people who were not watching the World Cup were the industrial workers. Those who were not watching the World Cup, how many are not watching the World Cup? And out of them, 30% are industrial. So what is this? This is going to be 210. It is 30% of 700. समझा? अभी बाकी फिगर्स को कंप्लीट कर सकते हो. तो ये अगर 210 है तो this will be 40. ये 40 है तो 260 will be here. It's very simple. और 200 करेक्ट ना? And 210 इधर है तो ये कितना होगा? 490 will be here. अभी table is complete. Now you can answer anything. So tell me what are they asking? What is the number of agricultural workers who enjoyed watching the TV? So how many are there? 260. Now you can answer any question. समझा? तो टेबल तैयार करो, फिर कुछ सवालों का जवाब दो. Agricultural workers watching TV. How many are there? 260. How many are agricultural workers? Agricultural workers. 750. I'm just referring to agricultural workers. My question is, tell me, what about the comparison between the watching and not watching the TV? I mean, watching the TV, what is the ratio between industrial and agriculture? अभी जब जब तुम रेशो कहते हैं तो वो डिवीजन होता है, समझा ना? ये डिफरेंट क्वेश्चंस के आंसर तुमको देना पड़ेगा ना. तो व्हाट इज द रेशो बिटवीन इंडस्ट्रियल इज टू एग्रीकल्चरल अमंग दोज हु आर वाचिंग टीवी? That ratio is going to be 40:260. That means this is 4:26. That means this is 2:30. समझा? ऐसे क्वेश्चंस पूछ सकते हैं ना, वो रेशो पूछ सकते हैं, परसेंटेज पूछ सकते हैं, etc. I ask you, what percent of people? I'm not just going to sticking to their question. I'm creating some more questions based on that, possible questions. What is the percentage of people? What is the percentage of people who are agricultural workers not watching the TV? Not watching the TV. अभी तुम जरा मेरे तरफ देखो and tell me, percentage का मतलब क्या होता है? Percentage means number divided by the total number multiplied by 100. So how many people are there? Agricultural not watching TV, how many people are there? 450. Out of what is the total number? 1000. Total number is 1000, na? And that multiplied by 100. So will that come out to be what, 45%? Is that, sorry, 490. So will that be 49%? That's 49%. समझा तुमको? इस तरीके से कौन सा भी क्वेश्चन और कौन सा भी आंसर आप दे सकते. Where? No. They are asking percentage of agricultural workers not watching TV. So percentage is out of total, na? Percentage of total, not percentage of those who are not watching TV. किसका percentage? Total number of workers का percentage. कितना है? 49%. 49% of the total number of workers are such that they are working in the agricultural sector and they are not watching the TV. समझा ना? Like this a question can be asked. Would you then complete the second question on your own? This type of questions are very, very significant from examination point of view. Second question को करो. Go do the second question now on your own. सेकंड क्वेश्चन अच्छी तरीके से पढ़ो. पहले यह डिटरमिन करो कि वहां फैक्टर्स कितने हैं. ठीक तरीके से पढ़ो. Sample study of people of an area revealed total number of women were 40%. Total number of women were 40%. अभी है 40% of what? That is not given, na? 40% of what? That is not given. So we assume 100. Percentage means out of 100, na? So we assume total number is 100. Then out of 100, 40 are the women. Obviously 60 are the intelligents. Correct, na? Percentage of coffee drinkers was 45 as a whole. The people drinking coffee, search how many people will be there. 45% of 100, that's 45. So not drinking coffee will be 55. Then percentage of male coffee drinkers is 20. तो बाकी सब figures compute कर सकते हो, करो. Go complete the table. So you have men and women, you have coffee drinkers and non-coffee drinkers. Because they are talking in terms of percentage, I am saying that the total number of people is what? 100. अभी करो table पूरा. 40% are the women, that means this is 40 and therefore this is 60. Coffee drinkers is 45, so this is 45, therefore this is 50, 55. 20% are male coffee, that means this is 20, right? No. So this is 40, this is 15, and this is 15, so this is 25. That's it. Now you can answer any question. What is the percentage of female non-coffee? Female non-coffee will be 15%. हो गया. You can answer any question. समझा? Tell me what is the ratio between number of coffee drinkers to non-coffee drinkers? Coffee to no coffee. That is 45 is to 55. तो 9 is to 11. समझा? ऐसा कोई भी कुछ भी पूछ सकते हैं ना? तो very simple. It's just very simple. Now my question is, look at me. My question is, look at me. ये question पूछा नहीं जा सकता एग्जाम में क्योंकि they themselves have said that this is the 5 marks question. So not expected, but just look at the question and tell me how many factors are involved. Yes, 𝐓𝐡𝐚𝐧𝐤𝐬 problems you can leave very safely because they are 5 marks problems. Examination point of view, tell me how many factors are involved. One is the year. Second is the gender. And third is the faculty, commerce, science, वगैरह. So this is a 3-way table. So 3-way table will cover how many factors? 3 factors. So you just leave this problem, don't do it. But for 3-way, 2-way, you can better understand. Okay? समझा? Okay. Now the third method of presentation is the diagrammatic presentation. What was the first method? Textual presentation. What was the second method? Tabular presentation. And the third method is the diagrammatic presentation. Third method is the diagrammatic presentation. And the first of that diagrammatic presentation is the line diagram. First of that is what? Line diagram. First of that is a line diagram. First out of that method is the line diagram. What is it? Line diagram. This line diagram is also known as histogram. Histogram is different. Histogram is different. What is the other name to this line diagram? And this is nothing but the graph. इसी को क्या कहते हैं? Graphical presentation. So line diagram, graphical presentation, histogram, this is same. अभी इसमें क्या होता है? जरा मेरे तरफ देखो. You have got a time value, time series. What do you mean by time series? Time series means according to time. It's a chronological data. So my question is, tell me, it could be either the time series. It could either be the time series or it could be the geographical series. It could be the geographical series. Now, histogram na historiogram. Geographical series. Now, time series is also called the chronological arrangement. Chronological means according to time. It is according to what? Time. It is according to time. And geographical series is also called the spatial series. Spatial, space से related है ना? Spatial. This is also called the spatial series. This is according to region. This is according to region. So it could be the time series according to time, or it could be the spatial or the geographical according to, say, countries, states, countries, etc. अभी जरा मेरे तरफ देखो. Imagine I consider the rainfall in the different years. So suppose if I consider the year 2001, 2002, 2003, etc. And then I consider the rain, and that rain is, suppose here it is 70 inches, suppose here it is 75 inches, suppose here it is 68 inches. How many time series are there? Only one. And that one time series is of what? Rain. Samjha? So there is only one time series that is related to only the rain. Then I will draw the simple line diagram. So what will I do? अभी ये MCQs है क्या है? X axis पे क्या लेंगे? Time. X axis will represent what? Time. And Y axis will represent the Y value. Y value in this case is what? Rain. Plot the points. So when X is what? When it is 2001, the rain is 70 inches, point could be here. In the year 2002, the rain was 75, which is here. In the year 2003, the rain is what? 68, which is slightly down here. Now connect it by the line diagram and you get a simple line diagram. So ये ऐसा connect करेंगे ना line segment से. So this is a line diagram. तो क्या point है इसमें? This covers one time series. Here X axis denotes what? Time. And Y axis denotes what? Y. Y values. For example, it could be the rain. It could be the crop. It could be anything. Production, import, export. Clear? So simple line diagram. Time हो गया क्या? ठीक है, we'll continue with this tomorrow. But theory है, purely theory है. आज क्या करेंगे? इसके रिवीजन करो, प्लीज. भूलना नहीं. Alright, stop. Saturday we'll have the test on correlation, regression, full chapter. ठीक है? Time I will tell it on first, prepare.